spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life mending broken people.
Hello and welcome to 3ABN Today. My name is C.A. Murray, and allow me once again to thank you for sharing just a little of your no doubt busy day with us, to thank you for your love, your prayers, your support of Three Angels Broadcasting Network. I want you to draw close because I am excited, yea, verily excited, because of our program, the subject matter, and my guests. When we talk about two exciting people, and I'm kind of overusing that word, but I'm at a loss for a word to describe the doctors Lewis, Chris, and Leela. He a general surgeon, she OBGYN, and for our purposes, the driving forces, those that the Lord has laid the burden on for your best pathway to health. And if you've been in a cave or somewhere where you haven't been near a television or seen this program or any number of other programs, you may not know what they are doing, but you will know thoroughly ere this program shall have ended that they are a part of what I call a move of God in the body of Christ, one of the most exciting initiatives that the Lord has given to his church in really quite a while, one that is impacting lives and towns and cities and churches and communities in a way that I don't think anything else that we've done as a church for the last 100 years has done. We've left footprints in certain towns that we're going to talk about where this program has gone on that really I don't see any other initiative that we've done as a church that has had the kind of impact that Your Best Pathway to Health has. And these two semi-weary looking people are at at the very forefront of this, and we will give you reason for what may be the look of fatigue, but they're just two wonderful people with a lot of energy and 4 kids.
Yes, yes, sir.
And 4 children. Dr. Chris, Dr. Leela Lewis, guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for allowing God to use you in such a mighty and miraculous way. Just to be part of this, and I know that the number of people who can say, I've been a part of this, is growing and growing and growing and growing. To be part of this move and to see what God is doing through Your Best Pathway to Health is really, it's great. You search for adjectives because there's nothing to compare this with, because we as a church, we haven't done anything like this before that's had the kind of immediate impact. And guys, we want to go back and just set a little foundation because the future is real bright and real big, and you've been at this long enough now that we could talk about, use words like legacy and, you know, and history and these kinds of things. But we've gone to Oakland and San Francisco.
Yep.
We've gone to San Antonio. We've gone to Spokane, and we have seen miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle. So I know that you guys are convinced this is a God thing, because God has knocked down doors and pushed through doors and gone over obstacles over and over and over again. You've seen that. And now we're thinking about going to a really big town. But let's go back. You started in Oakland and San Francisco. Now that was sort of dipping your toes in the water because it wasn't as big, but just walk us through how that started. Then we'll move quickly to San Antonio, look at some video, and then we're going to talk about what's ahead. And then you got to get some volunteers. We got to get some help.
Well, thank you, CA. Yeah, you know, we started out Your Best Pathway to Health, its debut, if you will, San Francisco and Oakland, as a service of ASI, Adventist Layman Services and Industries. We took off. We had that small event. We only had 500 volunteers, and by God's grace, we serviced 3,100 people in 2.5 days. So it was exciting.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. But what we saw there was the beginning of a massive impact, not only on the volunteers, but on the patients and the community at large. You remember the Oakland mayor came and spoke at that first gratitude session.
Yes.
And that in and of itself was an amazing, amazing new adventure. So it really did take off there in San Francisco and Oakland.
Now, when you began San Francisco, Oakland, I don't know if you had in your mind the long-term train that you're on now. How did the series of cities that ensued, how did they come to your notice, and how did they get sort of on board?
Well, Dr. Chris, you want to explain the application process?
Sure. Even actually before San Francisco and Oakland, a number of people had seen enough miracles take place, barriers taken down, roadblocks moved out of the way, that there came an invitation, if you will, our first application from the union in Texas to come and do an event there, a larger event in San Antonio.
Now, was it always determined to sort of bind that with General Conference or to keep it separate? Was that linkage done early on?
We had to, that's actually why Elder McKee had asked us. He said, would you come to San Antonio and do an event preceding the General Conference session? And we had decided, you know, this is an awesome opportunity to actually not just have an event, but actually do something like as a General Conference event, but actually give back to the community that we're having the General Conference actually in. And the results, tell me about the media results that we just found out about.
Well, there were 78 separate broadcasts, whether that's television or newspaper or radio. Media events were network television. It was even in USA Today. It was in the Wall Street Journal, the event there in San Antonio, talking about what happened, the patients that were served.
In fact, the General Conference Communication Department just announced last week that they had more media publicity for this General Conference session than all previous ones. I think it was three times.
3 times more.
Three times the number of publicity. And publicity is not what counts. The whole point is that God's Seventh-day Adventist Church is being uplifted, rising out of obscurity, if you will, like Isaiah 58 says, so that Christ's glory, his righteousness, can shine to the world through his church. And that, to me, is the most exciting aspect.
Well, publicity is when, advertising is when you say good things about yourself. Publicity is when others say good things about you.
Amen.
And people say things about you when you're doing something for them. So the publicity is an outgrowth of what actually is happening and how the community is responding to something that they've never seen before. And I know you've seen the looks of incredulity, for want of a better term. Why are you guys doing this? Where is this coming from? And that's one of the kind of hurdles, I think, the skepticism that you've got to deal with at first, because nobody does this kind of thing on free medical.
Nothing's for free,
right. So where's the catch?
Exactly, and we've seen that over and over again in every city we've gone to. Why are you doing this? And it's an awesome opportunity to share the gospel.
Yes.
Well, as Seventh-day Adventists, we're Christians, and we think it's such an honor to be able to follow in Christ's footsteps, to provide physical, mental, and spiritual healing to those in need, and that's why we're doing it.
Praise the Lord.
And literally, the government officials, the media, have had tears in their eyes as they've not just heard the words, but more importantly, seen in action what we believe.
Yeah. I've heard the stories. I was at the pre-meeting where you were telling the story about this chain of this lady who's working and her relative and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it happens over. So once your jaw comes up off the floor, you realize, hey, something really good is happening here that we want to get on board.
Amen.
Give me the numbers of, because we talked about 500 volunteers, Oakland, San Francisco. Those numbers jumped up considerably. So give me the numbers of volunteers for San Antonio, and then the number of patients that you were able to deal with in San Antonio.
Okay, well, we had 1,700 volunteers, praise God, who signed up to come to San Antonio and volunteer. That's medical and non-medical, because one of the beautiful things about this event is someone might be watching and they say, well, this sounds pretty exciting, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dentist, I'm not an optometrist, what can I do? But what is so awesome about this kind of medical gospel combination work that I believe God has put together is that no matter who you are as a Seventh-day Adventist, you can come and be a part of medical missionary work, of reaching these people and impacting their lives, whether you're someone that is a hospitality worker that tours the people around the event, or you're part of registration, you check the people in, or you're helping to do a root canal on a tooth or cut off a tumor.
Or you're an electrician, right? You're an electrician. Absolutely. And you help with the electricity and the plumbing. We use plumbers. I mean, anybody and everybody. Yep. If you are willing, we're adding law services to Los Angeles just to jump ahead. But again,
legal services.
Legal
if you can help set up, set up and take down
just
services.
Strong back, strong mind.
If you are willing to work, God has a place for you. Sorry to interrupt you there. Go ahead.
Yeah. I like the idea because you have people coming off the street. Some are homeless, some are middle income, some have good jobs that don't have medical care. But walking through the maze that's very confusing. So there are people, if you can just say, in San Antonio, as you come down Esther, men and ladies' restrooms are to the right. You know, and that was her job. Yep. And she did it very, very well. Yes. Because folk, where's the restroom? I don't know. So there's someone to tell you. So those little things, and let me compliment you both on this. God has seen fit to put in your path and become part of your ministry. People who are very low on the crabby quotient. You know what I mean? They know how to smile, because doing this from early in the morning till fairly late in the afternoon, and to hold that smile and hold that love and let that love of Christ show. And I'm talking about the professionals and the non-professionals. Yes. Is a blessing. God has brought in your path good quality Christian volunteers. Now, I don't know if everybody's that way, but the ones I've dealt with were, and I want to congratulate you for that, because God has done that for you.
Well, in San Antonio, with all those volunteers, those 1,700 volunteers, by God's grace, we service 6,200 patients, 6,192 to be exact.
Yes, praise the Lord.
So it was an exciting opportunity there.
I got a chance to film, and we have yet, this film has not, and I knew it was when I shot it, to see you remove this large thing from the back of a lady. And as I was shooting it, I was saying, you know what, no one's ever going to watch this. and I showed it to Jill Mulcahy and said, I'd like to take a look at that. So about 30 seconds in, she said, okay, I think I've seen enough. But you have really complex surgeries going on. You've got medical care of all kinds going on. It's all free. And what has been, because we talk about legacy and impact, we know what the impact is on the patient.
Right.
What about the community officials, mayors, deputy mayors, police, those who are running the towns? What are they saying in the wake of the kinds of things that you're doing?
They're saying they cannot believe what the Seventh-day Adventist Church is doing for their community. They are overwhelmed. In fact, the gentleman who's in charge of both the Alamo Dome and the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, because remember, we had our meetings in the evening at the Henry B. and then over at the Alamo Dome. He came to the gratitude session there at the Pathway to Health event, and then he also ran into me at General Conference session, and both times he had tears in his eyes. In fact, at the gratitude session, they were actually streaming down his cheeks. Absolutely dumbfounded by the Seventh-day Adventist Church and what they were doing for his community. And he's a perfect example of many, many others. The mayor herself, even at General Conference, made a note again on Saturday night to again thank everyone, the church, for doing this for her community. It is having an absolutely tremendous effect on the cities. And Spokane, the same thing, over and over again. We're seeing it's making unbelievable inroads with people that we might otherwise not necessarily have good inroads with.
As I look at the cities, Oakland, San Francisco, San Antonio, Spokane, very diverse towns tend to be West, but very different cities. How does one get into your, how do you know where to go and who is next? How does that happen? Talk to me a little bit about the process of city selection.
Good question. So Your Best Pathway to Health, again, is a service of ASI. We have our own organization and our own board. And we receive applications from unions, from conferences. And we want it to be a collaborative endeavor, right? It's the laity and the church working together, the medical and the non-medical. So we want a collaborative group effort going forward. So we have an application, and it requires signatures of the union and the conference and the local pastors, et cetera, to show that we're all going to be working together.
Okay.
And then that gets vetted out and made sure that there's appropriate resources, et cetera, for that vicinity, and that's how we proceed.
I see. So the local church in a given area, they make the application to you.
They working with their conference
Yeah.
and
When I
their
say local
union.
church, the church entity, not just
Yeah.
a local
Yes.
church,
Correct.
but the
Correct.
organization in that area.
Yes.
My lady, my lord. Now, you've grown and you've learned some things, and let me say this too. One of the things that I really respect about what you do is the organization. Someone has thought through this thoroughly. There are very few holes in your game. You know, it's organized. When a person comes in, they are greeted, they are escorted, they're made to feel welcome. Even little things like putting plants and some greenery, whether it be fake greenery or real, I don't really know. But the pharmacy and the movement of people through these labyrinths of, of care, you've thought about all of that so that the experience is, first of all, it's efficient. You get in and get out as quickly as possible. But it's also pleasant. It's not, waiting in a doctor's office can be drudgery and can be fearful, but you've got choirs singing. And we need to talk about this also. If you've got music groups
Yes.
or musicians outside and in, so there's music going on the whole time, it's really quite an experience. Now we go to the biggest city yet,
Yep.
and that is
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Give me the dates.
So this is going to be April 26th through 30, and we're going to set up, and it's going to be, we ought to say, where?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be at the Los Angeles Convention Center. And if you, I think when we see this video from San Antonio, you'll see the size of the building where we were in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. The building we're going to be in Los Angeles is going to be about 3 times larger than the building we had in San Antonio.
Wow.
It's going to be almost 400,000 square feet.
Yeah. Let's go to our San Antonio video because it'll give our viewers some context for what we're talking about, because San Antonio is not a small town, and this was not a small venue, now you're talking 3 times the size. That kind of blows your mind. And
We have an awesome team. You talked about organization and thinking things through. We have an awesome team that puts these on, and we like to go around and talk about it and so forth. But God has put together some people that care about their fellow human beings and lifting up God to the world. And it's just been such a blessing to work with all of them.
yeah, we got a chance to work with you fairly closely in San Antonio, and I saw that God, I say again, has brought to your group people who care, people who are kind, people, because there is some amount of stress. I mean, this is
Right.
real work, and yet there seems to be this collegiality. The Christian spirit is showing, and of course, when you see what good you're doing, it just kind of bolsters you. So we're going to go to this video now. This is just a sort of retrospective of what happened in San Antonio, preparatory to what's coming up in Los Angeles.
The dream began in California's Bay Area. To serve, to heal, to love on a mass scale, one person at a time. Free medical care, free dental care, free eye care, absolutely free, no strings attached. Soon, more and more were talking about what they had seen, what they had heard, and what they had experienced. A question arose: how could we only do this once? Where can we go next? San Antonio, Texas was chosen as the next city whose residents would receive the love of Christ through the hands and feet of anyone willing to serve. Over 100 organizations joined the effort, as did the Office of Mayor, Ivy Taylor, and the Department of Health. An event became a movement. 500 volunteers became 1,000, then 1,500, then 1,700. They came from all parts of North America and all walks of life. They came to register, to greet, to host, to organize, to sing, to encourage, to teach, and to heal. And as they came, so did the residents of San Antonio. They came the day before the event. They came in the sun. They came in the rain. Services offered inside were more comprehensive than ever. Eye care services included complete eye exams, consultations, retinal scans for glaucoma and retinal detachment, and fittings for glasses. Dental care included cleanings, fillings, crowns, extractions, x-rays, digital scans, and more. Medical care included primary care visits, women's health services, consultation by medical specialists including heart evaluation, as well as gastroenterology, neurology, rheumatology, infectious disease, podiatry services, immunizations, pharmacy, medical massage, physical therapy, x-rays, and laboratory services. And for the first time, medical care included general surgery, including hernia repair, hysterectomies, vasectomies, mass and skin cancer removal, and gallbladder removal. Other first-time services included haircuts and styling, nutrition and healthy cooking demonstrations, and men's suits offered free of charge. And once again, while patients waited, volunteers sang, played, taught, and took the opportunity to meet those who had come. Some told their stories, some gladly welcomed prayer, others reflected on their newly found hope. Those who came did not leave the same. Smiles returned to faces, pain was left behind, and perhaps most importantly, hearts were touched and in some cases, healed. The event was without a doubt a tremendous success. 1,700 Seventh-day Adventist Christians from around North America saturated the city of San Antonio with the tangible love of Christ and brought hope and healing to over 6,000 of the city's residents. That is mission. That is mission accomplished. That is mission accomplished together.
You know, guys, every time I see that, as you said, it kind of brings a tear to your eyes, but it also lets you realize that you're in the presence of a move of God that is just fantastic.
Amen.
I need to ask you, how do you determine how many volunteers you will need for a given city? We went from 500 to 1,700. How did you know that was your optimum number for efficiency?
Well, that's a good question. Our Vice President of Logistics, George Gelbert, is really, really good at that. And so what he does is he statistically figures out how many square footage we have available to us, what the population of the city is, the demographics of the city, income basis, etc. And then he figures how many patients we can service, and from there we deduce how many volunteers we need.
Wow. So then, going from San Antonio, a fair-sized town, to Los Angeles, a big city, what are your numbers? What are we looking at to try to fulfill our mission here?
We're hoping for at least 3,000, somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 volunteers. And we want to treat at least 10,000 patients in 2.5 days.
Crazy.
We have just under 400,000 square feet, so we need to increase the number of volunteers. That's the big goal right now.
And again, 2.5 days, 10,000. That's getting them in and getting them done, man. That's great. It's early yet. I mean, we're not at crunch time just yet. But do you see any particular needs that LA is going to present to you that maybe the other cities did not?
Well, it's always going to be dentistry and eye care. I mean, we need our dentists and we need our eye care professionals. But what we're also hearing is audiologists is a big need. Yeah. And our surgeons. We desperately need surgeons. We did not have enough. We could have used quite a bit more in Spokane. So we need more surgeons for sure.
Specific surgeries, general surgeons,
plastic surgeons,
orthopedic
surgeons, podiatrists.
General, a lot. We need a lot of general.
General's the biggest need. Lumps and bumps is the biggest need.
And gynecologists. We didn't have enough gynecologists as well. So we need them all.
You got big needs, big needs. I recall dentistry and eye care far outstrip anything else. Those lines are the longest. how many of that particular field of practice do you have in San Antonio? Dentists and eye care professionals.
We had 50 dentists in San Antonio. We have our goal, Lord willing, we can raise the money.
Yeah, I wanted to hear this number.
If we can, by God's grace, raise the money, so if there's anybody out there that wants to help in that regard,
Yeah.
we are seeking to have 120 dental stations
Wow.
for Los Angeles.
So that's dentists and dental hygienists. We definitely need hygienists.
We desperately need hygienists as well. So we really want to maximize the number of patients. Our city size obviously is significantly bigger in Los Angeles. What we understand from the city governments, in fact, I was telling you, Chief Medical Officer for the County of Los Angeles,
Yes.
thrown his full weight behind it, but again, emphasizing to us, make sure you've got enough for our patients. We've got a lot of patients here that don't have any health care, and they desperately need your help. So we really need that for Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm thinking in Los Angeles, you've got such a varied community. You've got a large immigrant population.
Correct.
So, you're also going to need, perhaps more than before, translate. Yeah, you're the same.
Lots of different languages too,
Yes,
because it's
yes.
not just Spanish and English. We're
Right.
looking at Korean and
Yeah.
Mandarin, and the list goes on and on. So yes.
Wow. So if you have just a need, I believe they will find a place for you so you can exercise your franchise, dare I say. If you want to do, they'll find something constructive and productive for you to do. I'm thinking about the translating in this particular town is really going to be a major thing to try to hurdle. Now, as far as setting up is concerned, you are more, because I see you moving around, you got the clipboard and you're doing, but you're actually going to do surgeries during that time, are you not?
Correct, yes. And in fact, in Spokane, we did about 300 surgeries on the floor and between the different surgical departments. And so we'll be doing procedures there on the floor. And
we're still working out the details regarding the actual operating room procedures like we did in San Antonio. We're
Yes.
seeing how we can work that out. But we are very excited about what God has in store for Los Angeles.
Let's stop just now because we've done a little plugging. Let's go to some contact information here. I don't want to wait till the end of the program. We'll bring it again. But if you're kind of getting excited, and every time we do this is like your 34th time here, you kind of get, the bubbles kind of start floating to the surface again. How do they contact? How do they sign up? How do they volunteer? Walk us through that.
so the best way to do it is to go to Pathway to Health, all one word, volunteer.org, and they can register there. There's a link you can click on, Volunteer for Los Angeles, and we want people to go to the website and volunteer. We gather information. We're even start the credentialing process for our providers, and we ask, what department do you want to go to? What skills do you have? How do you want to get into this thing?
Say it again, Pathway?
Pathway to Health, PATHWAYTOHELTH, volunteer, all spelled out, .org.
And then our phone number is 1-888-44-PATHWAY.
All right.
If you have specific questions.
Yeah. All right. 1-888-44
Pathway.
Pathway. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. We've talked about the obvious benefit to the cities and the obvious benefit to those who volunteer the services. There is a reciprocity. When you give, the Lord sees to it that you get. And I think it's that reciprocity that keeps you guys going. The fact that you look and you see what God has done with you, for you, to you, through you, it kind of gives you energy. What about the Adventist church in that local town? What is the standing of the church? What kind of feeling does the church have? I remember getting up in the morning at the hotel and seeing different churches providing food bags, lunch things, and they were saying, well, we were up all day yesterday doing these things, but they seem to be so excited. What's the legacy for the church in that local community?
What we're seeing is former Seventh-day Adventists, those who have drifted away from the church, coming back to the church as they see what their church is doing in their community. They see, this is the church I want to belong to.
They say things like, if this is the church, if this is what my church does, then this is the church I want to belong to.
Yeah.
And they're back.
Yeah.
And the members themselves are so excited. In fact, on a personal level, we had in Spokane, smaller event, but still saw 3,100 patients. God just totally blessed. But in that event, just because of the impact by the people working registration, the people that are touring people around, you know, the people that are giving a massage, people that are drawing the lab, doing the medical exam or the eye exam or the dental treatment. By the time that the people got to the lifestyle station, where they learned how to improve their lifestyle, their diet, their exercise, etc., one volunteer had 6 people come up to him and say, why are you guys doing this? How do I become a part of this church?
How do I get baptized?
Yeah.
Essentially saying, what must I do to be saved?
Be saved, yes, yes, yes.
And they hadn't even been to chaplaincy services yet, got a piece of literature. But as exciting as that is, and the impact that it has on the patients and the city and the officials, I think the impact that it has on individual church members who volunteer is even bigger. We were at this, we were at our booth at the General Conference session, recruiting for volunteers for Spokane and LA. And a woman came up to the booth and she said, how do I volunteer? I've got to volunteer. Someone from my church volunteered in San Antonio, and she came back to our church glowing. She couldn't say enough things good about what she experienced in San Antonio. I've got to volunteer. I've got to be a part of this. How do I sign up? When she said that, there was a volunteer working the booth, because everybody at the booth was a volunteer. We just sent out an email to our volunteers, and people flew in from around the country just to man the booth.
Yeah.
They were so excited about what they had experienced. So a woman who was at the booth volunteering heard what the woman said and said, it's true. It's changed my life completely. She said, I've been on mission trips in Costa Rica. I've been to Central America, South America. I've been to Africa. Nothing has impacted me more in any of my previous experiences as what this event in San Antonio did. It's changed my life forever, and I'm gonna keep going on these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think as far as the church, you said collectively, as far as the church, it's kind of volunteers excited. But what that has done to our church at large is, I think there's this excitement and this movement. I just came from General Conference Annual Council. An overwhelming excitement about what God is going to do through health ministry, the very things that He's told us about all along. And it's so wonderful that we have this awesome collaborative endeavor between the North American Division, General Conference Health Ministries Department. Elder Wilson has Comprehensive Health Ministry, he and Peter Landless. Wonderful as we all work together.
Every member involved.
Every member involved, exactly, total member involvement. But I think this statement in and of itself kind of explains why I think the church is getting so excited. This is a statement from the Spokane Tribune, and it says, I want to send a thank you and kudos to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Because this is not any one of us, right? This is God's Seventh-day Adventist people doing what He's told us to do, right? He says, their members came from all over the world to enrich Spokane socially and physically. I had already had a high opinion of their people for the lifestyle they led. The Your Best Pathway to Health clinically simply raises their status in my eyes. Spokane Tribune.
Well done and well said. And I think that raising of the bar as far as identification of the church and identifying the church as people who care about heaven but also care about you here and now, and positions themselves to do that and to better their communities is almost thanks enough, is almost payment enough, that people are saying, hey, people just don't do this kind of thing.
Amen.
You know, yeah.
Amen.
I want to be part of something that's part of that.
And you know, also, CA, the other thing that I see is, you know how in the writings of Sister White, actually we were just reading it this morning on Counsels in Health, that when we as Seventh-day Adventists do what the Lord has commissioned us to do, all the way back in Isaiah 58, and we do God's ministry, health ministry, but we do it the right way, that the people in the world will notice our genuineness and they will give to support the cause. Financially give. We've seen that in every city we've gone to.
Wow.
We saw that in San Francisco. The city paid for the advertising. We saw that in Oakland. We saw that significantly in San Antonio. We received the Alamo Dome and the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center completely for free, and they helped with the media. Spokane, again, the same thing, over and over again. God fulfilling His promises to us when we do what He's asked us to do, which is just be His hands and feet.
Yeah, this is so exciting, and God will use the money of the Gentiles too, you know, to get the work done. But that doesn't excuse those of us who name the name of Jesus also to, you know, to put a little bean in the pot and add, because it does take money to do this kind of thing. There's a lot of people going into their own pockets, as you well know, to come to give of their care. But there are some things that have to be paid for. There's some machinery that has to be gotten, a lot of things that have to be done. It's going to take money to do it. And what better way to spend your dime in active missionary work locally? I've done a number of mission trips abroad, and have enjoyed them and felt the Spirit of God. But this is a whole new, this is something different. It's, you know, you struggle for words, but there's something going on here that is really a move of God. Now, before our time gets away, give me the dates for LA again.
Go ahead.
April 26 to 30, 2016. Yeah. So 26 to 30, setups on the 26th, 27, 28, 29 is the event.